all, and good afternoon, good evening, and thank you everyone for joining me today. And thank you ABM for giving me this opportunity to have some chat, a very informal chat and sharing session, I would say. Allow me to share my screen because I feel like sometimes pictures speaks louder than words, and maybe can show you better than what I can explain to you. So let me just share screen, start broadcasting. I hope it works. Yep, now can you see?
We're seeing your desktop and
my
that
slides.
Beautiful kitty. Let's see here. Oh, there you go. We can see your slides now.
Okay, all right. So, as mentioned, I'm Zaharah. I'm from Malaysia. And in this session, I'm going to talk a bit about, look back into it. I actually have been doing about nearly 20 years, didn't realize that. So I'm going to say, okay, what's the first 10 years what I did in the first 10 years? And then now it's the next 10 years, So basically in the earlier start is that, looking into myself, how I want to develop, what are the things that I want to do, basically just to make sure that I have, the knowledge and everything to myself. And then only the next 10 years, when I look back into it, then only I actually get into more involved in the community, externally, internationally, joining the leaderships and get the fellowships, not in ABM yet, but in other organizations. So where do I start? All right, so it all went back in 2005. And I actually was introduced, interestingly, I was first introduced about breastfeeding from WABA. I'm not sure if you're familiar with WABA, World Alliance for Breastfeeding Actions, even though I was in Malaysia, but it was kind of a funny, which I didn't get to know about breastfeeding first from Malaysian, but I get to know from from World Alliance for Breastfeeding Action. So it was in 2005 where I was first invited by WABA to join their programs, because they were looking for young lecturers at that time. I was really young, who have not yet, developed into areas that they want. So they came to my university and they actually asked, my head of my dean, who's young lecturers who just graduated at that time. I just graduated my master and was doing in women's issues and family health, and say, yeah, I said, why not? This is something interesting. So that's how it all started. And the first person that actually introduced me about breastfeeding is Dr. Felicity Savage. Is it someone familiar to all of you or not someone familiar? But she is very prominent. I mean, she's a pediatrician and very prominent in WHO, and also have been joining ABM for quite some time. I mean, I've seen her in ABM conferences back in 2019 and earlier than that as well, So yeah, so I met her. So she was my guru in breastfeeding, I would say that, And last time I met her was in her hometown, back in UK, stayed overnight at her place, and had some very intimate conversations with her and, looking into what we are going to do in the future. What are you going to do? Zaharah in Malaysia? And she asked me, oh yeah, I'm going to do something, definitely do something that benefits for the Malaysian community. So that's where I started. So before that, breastfeeding was not something that I knew as a career. What I knew before that, breastfeeding is like a nurse's job in Malaysia. It used to be, oh, you have any issue with breastfeeding? Okay, nurses, can you help us? It's like this. It's not like doctors. You don't need to know more about breastfeeding. That was the time 20 years ago. So when I met her, I said, oh, she's a pediatrician and she knows a lot about breastfeeding. Is this an area that a doctor should know? And that kind of thinking that I had at that time, so it was something really, really strange for me. Yeah. So, and after that, after I met her, because I was a young lecturer at that time, my university allowed me to have some attachment overseas, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to expand. So I choose to go to Sydney to the Royal Prince Alfred Hospital, and I attached to the NICU, to the breastfeeding teams, and I wanted to know more about breastfeeding. And in the afternoon, I learned about research, so that I fulfill my time. So I was there for, for about 4 months, deepening my knowledge on breastfeeding and then about community breastfeeding. And one of the that was a really great experience for me to know more about breastfeeding. And it's made me like understand, wow, this breastfeeding is a very big area that, you know, you can explore more into so many things. So that was back in 2006. And then I got my first IBCLC certifications in 2007 after 2 years of really intense learning and attachments about breastfeeding, and I finally took my exams. And yeah, and last year I was awarded with the Fellow of ILCA. So that's actually, I then further my studies in breastfeeding, and I did my study in Latrobe. It was back in 2010. I'm sure you're familiar with Professor Lisa Ame, who is the guru in mastitis, right? And I did my PhD under her, and it was a great experience to be able to, you know, learn more about breastfeeding at that time. Yeah, and so on and so on. You know, like get to know. I put here a photo of Ellen Rowe, where I first met her back in 2015 when she came to Malaysia. And that was the first time I got into it was ABM. Yeah, so more than 10 years then. Yeah, it was so nice. Right. So as I expand in my personal, like, you know, knowledge and personal self into getting more about breastfeeding, I also developed what we need to have in our hospitals. I'm working in a university, and we have like university hospitals. So with my as long as I go with my experience, you know, we started with like lactation secretariat, and then we further into lactation clinic, and then we further into community breastfeeding support group. And now this year, I presented to the director of hospital, and we just started to have lactation unit, like a proper unit with doctors, nurses, and also supporting staff. So that's how it goes, like, you know, for the last 20 years. So this is our team, you know, how we work, like, you know, very not so big. Our room is quite small, you know, but we are a bunch of people who are very committed in, you know, helping people around here. And this is like our setting, you know. We have like small groups for mothers, like groups of mothers, and we have some counselings, and we have like group sessions. Yeah. And one of our focus in my clinic is actually induced lactation treatment. It's very common in Malaysia. People adopt babies and they wanted to actually produce milk so that they can give milk to their babies. So this is one of the things. So this is how it likes in our hospitals, lactation services in our hospitals, advisors the directors, me as the head, and then we have the lactation services. Yeah. So this is how it expand, you know, from what I did, and then with my small team, and then now we have more than people, like we have like more than 300 people who are actually on the lactations team in my university. Yeah, and then we go on and I say, oh, no, now we have to do something more, not just to our university. We need to also invite people to know about breastfeeding. So we started to have this national scientific conference. So we had the first, second, and third conference, and hopefully next year will be our fourth conferences on alternate years. Yeah, and so we do it with WABA, with the Ministry of Health, you know, together, combinations, and co-organizing these conferences. So that's basically about what we do in the university, you know, from when I started until now. And as an academician, I can't run away from doing research and publications. That's like our bread and butter. You know, if you don't do that, then you're not academicians, you cannot be in university. Somehow I'm glad that because doing research is also my forte and I'm close to it. And it's not really something give me headache, but give me opportunities to me. Right? So I do a lot of, I write a lot of books, but I'm sure you don't know any of these books because it's written in Bahasa, in my languages. So it's not written in your language, in English. So most of this is actually catered for the local populations, you know. 100 persoalan in minute, 100 questions regarding breastfeeding. The next one is that, you know, breast milk is the ultimate food for babies. So these are the things. But lately I start to write in English. So the latest 2 books in English is actually Multiple Stakeholders Approach in Community Breastfeeding Support for Intervention Mothers. So that's essentially our community work. And the one on the right, Managing Induced Lactation, this is my latest book. It's going to be out soon. Actually, it's in print, or hopefully next month it'll be out, about managing induced lactation, making breastfeeding possible without birthing. So, you know, used to be in Bahasa and lately I've been written in English. Yeah. And this is one of our main products, you know. we produce this breastfeeding teaching kit 7-in-1. So we have the flip charts, we have the models, we have the slides, we have the audios, we have like guidebooks. And we managed to actually help many people. Again, this is in our language, in Malay. So it doesn't get out like to other people. So we produce this, we do R&D, we copyright our products, and then, you know, alhamdulillah, we get to sell it all over Malaysia. And we get into like competitions about, you know, these products, and we got gold medal for these products. And when COVID came, then we said, okay, there's no chance for us to have like face-to-face training, you know. So we convert that teaching kits into online modules. So we convert that the same thing into online modules. So we make massive open online course, breastfeeding self-learning. So during 2001, 2002, people who want to know about our teaching and things, they joined us through online. And yeah, we didn't realize that, you know, in that 2 years, we have more than 23,000 students who actually participated in our class. Yeah. And I said, wow, we reach more people online than we were able to do it face-to-face. Like, you know, when we have a physical class, maybe 30 people or 40 at one time, but this time we have more than 23,000. And it was a great achievement. Like, you know, you never know, like sometimes other means of way of presenting can be more effective in certain times. And then we start to translate the books into English with this. And then this book is now available in Google Play. You know, if you want to get this book, it is available in Google Play. Yeah, so this is just want to say, like, you know, as an academicians, in a way, one of the way is how to reach people in different ways and to reach people more with the same products, you know. So we have that from breastfeeding kit, making it into online course and making it into ebook and making it to translate it into English. So besides that, being in Malaysia, one of the things that I do more is, you know, participates or not conduct, like being invited by the Ministry of Health, MOH Ministry of Health, and produce guidelines and manuals on breastfeeding topics. I'm so glad that they recognized being an IBCLCs and also being recognized as a lactation consultant, being involved in breastfeeding medicine as an expert areas, even though it is not in the National Registry of Expertise, but they realized that, you know, I've been involved in this and they invite me personally because of my experience in breastfeeding. So this was the technical, the book that I produced for the Ministry of Health, and it was launched by the minister back in 2019, just before COVID. And then this is the second one that is technical, being invited to be in the leader for the technical working group for Ministry of Health again for this counseling manual. And now we are actually trying to record that and put it online. And this is the last one that I'm working with the Ministry of Health, is actually as a technical working group to produce induced lactation guideline, because as I said earlier, it's becoming more common here. So the Ministry of Health find that we need to have some proper guidelines so people can actually do it safely, you know, for the people who wants to do this in guideline. And lastly, in the next 2-3 minutes that I have, I want to share with you what I do in the community, because like being I find that breastfeeding is very interesting, not just in the ward or hospital or clinical, but we can actually do more in the community. And that's one of the reasons we have this, our NGO work of this breastfeeding. So in Malaysia, in my place, north of Malaysia, we have flood every year. Flood is like natural disaster, you know. So, and every time when floods come, people need to evacuate their places, and there is no proper way of how to handle mothers and infants who are breastfeeding, you know. So in 2014, we had a massive flood that was the worst in Malaysian history, and people were so chaotic. And that was the time where the infant formula company took the opportunity to actually promote their products. And I realized that was so bad. So me and our team in USM, we joined the meetings on, you know, the mitigation disaster meeting, and we told that breastfeeding is an area that we need to be part of it. So join the training, so breastfeeding in emergency training. So I said, we have to have this about how to help mothers and infants in disaster. So I volunteered at that time, and I produced, like, you know, the team and how to help mothers and infants with all the human resources that actually involved in helping them. So we have the breastfeeding preparedness in emergencies. We do the training for people who want to have mothers, and make sure they have a safe space. Try to keep mothers and infants together. Provide nutritious food for the mother, so the mother can have energy to breastfeed the baby. And all these things that we actually had in the training course. So then we expand. Other university invite us, training disaster, and the last one that we had was last year, and another one coming soon, actually next month. So we keep on actually educating people on how to actually help mothers and infant in disaster. Not only that, in Malaysia, I also have a few experiences actually helping mothers and infants in disaster overseas. So we are just border of Thailand. So I've been doing that with Thailand a few times, going to Thailand with the floods, and also going to refugee camps, going to Gaza. And yeah, so breastfeeding in emergencies are international, so in local places that we have been going to. And one of the other things, that last one that we do, is actually helping people in the community who are not in disaster, who are not in crisis, but just to give them support in the community. And we work this with a foundation who actually give us the fund so that we can go in and do help mothers, visit them at home, and have follow up with them, and teaching the community and the kids, talking about family planning, talking about healthy food and things like that together with that. And lastly, this was yesterday. We had these celebrations in Malaysia. If you look into the, we were invited. MALCA is Malaysian Lactation Consultant Association, which I'm the chairman. We were invited by the minister to be part of their teams, so that we can help to promote the healthy growth in the first 1,000 days of life. Yes, I think that's all I have to share in about 20 minutes this morning with a few of you here. Thank you.